He never said a word to her. She never let him touch her. But every night, at exactly 6 p.m., they met behind the school. Until one night, she didn't come. Spring came late that year in Elmswood, a sleepy town nestled between forgotten railroad tracks and fields of dandelions. The mornings were still cold, but the sun stayed longer, casting golden light across the cracked sidewalks and rusted fences. For most, it was just another small town. For Lucas, it was a maze of routine and loneliness. Lucas was 9, too quiet for his age. Too sensitive, his teacher once said. He didn't have many friends. Other kids played soccer or traded video game cards. Lucas walked home slowly, hugging the wall, his backpack hanging off one shoulder. He liked silence. He liked patterns. He liked things that stayed the same. That's why the dog caught his eye. She was always there, behind the school dumpster, curled into a tight ball, head resting on her paws. A dusty brown mutt with deep, watchful eyes. Not big, but not small either. She looked like something between a shepherd and a fox, and she never barked. Not once. The first time Lucas saw her, he stopped in his tracks. She lifted her head slowly and stared at him. He stared back. They didn't move. For a long moment, it was just the two of them, a quiet boy and a silent dog, holding each other's gaze like strangers who knew something unspoken. Then he reached into his lunchbox. Half a peanut butter sandwich, slightly squashed. He placed it on the ground and stepped back. The dog didn't move, but the next day, the sandwich was gone. That became their rhythm. Every day after school, Lucas walked to the same spot. At first, he left food and watched from a distance. The dog waited until he was gone, then approached. After a week, she began showing up earlier, watching him from the shadows. He named her Dusty, not because of her color, though she was brown and gray and looked like she'd rolled in old leaves, but because she felt like something left behind, like the dust in his attic, soft and forgotten. Dusty never let him touch her, but she listened. Lucas talked to her like she was a person, about school, about the teacher who thought he was weird, about his mom who worked too late, and his dad who lived somewhere else. Dusty never judged. She just blinked slowly and flicked her ears. Sometimes Lucas would sit cross-legged and eat his snack with her, 2 feet apart. Silence between them, but not the kind that hurt. The kind that understood. He never told anyone about her, not even his mom. She was his secret, his friend, his safe place. One day, he brought her a slice of chicken from dinner. She didn't eat right away. Instead, she sat a little closer. Her nose twitched. Her eyes stayed on him. Lucas didn't move. The chicken was still warm when she finally crept forward and took it, not from the ground, but from his hand. His heart skipped. It was the first time she trusted him that much. He smiled the whole walk home. Then came the Thursday. She didn't show up. Lucas waited. The sun dipped behind the school roof. The wind picked up. A crow called from a fence post, but Dusty never came. He checked behind the dumpster. Nothing. He waited again the next day, and the next. Each evening, he sat in the same spot, sandwich in hand, eyes scanning the corners. But the space stayed empty. On the third night, he cried. Not loudly, not with sobs. Just a silent stream of tears running down his cheeks as he sat with the untouched sandwich in his lap. He whispered into the air, "Where did you go?" No one answered. Lucas didn't tell his mom. What would she say? He drew pictures of Dusty in his notebook instead. Long ears, cautious eyes, that flick in her tail when she was curious. He pinned one to his wall, then another. By the fifth day, he made a flyer. Missing dog, brown with pointy ears. Her name is Dusty. Please don't chase her. Just call Lucas. He didn't include a phone number, just a name and a drawing. He taped it to the school's back gate. No one noticed. But on the seventh night, something changed. Lucas sat on the curb, knees pulled to his chest. The wind was colder now, biting through his jacket. The sandwich had gone stale. He was about to give up when he heard it. A soft shuffle in the gravel. He turned, and there she was, Dusty, thin, dirty, but standing, and not alone. Behind her, 4 small shapes, tiny paws, wobbly legs, bright, blinking eyes, puppies. Lucas's breath caught in his throat. Dusty looked at him, then sat. Her pups stumbled around her, unsure of the boy, unsure of the world. But she didn't run. She didn't flinch. She had come back, and brought with her the reason she had been gone. And in her eyes, there was something new. Not fear, but trust. She came back to him, but this time she brought more than trust. She brought 4 tiny lives, and a decision that would change everything. Lucas didn't move at first. He just stared, heart thudding, mouth open, the sandwich falling from his hands onto the gravel. Dusty sat still, her body blocking the wind from the shivering pups that clung to her side. She didn't blink, didn't flinch. She had returned to the one human she trusted, and she was asking for something. Help. Lucas slowly got to his knees. His throat tightened. He wanted to reach out, to hold her, to cry and say, "Where were you?" But he didn't. Not yet. Instead, he pulled off his jacket. Gently, slowly. He laid it on the ground. Dusty watched. He pushed it toward her and whispered, "It's okay." She looked down at her pups, then nudged them toward the jacket. One by one, they crawled forward, squeaking, stumbling. Lucas moved closer. Not fast, not greedy. He was trembling. From cold, from awe, from something bigger than anything he'd ever felt. Then she did something he'd never seen before. She stepped toward him, touched her nose to his hand, and sighed. He didn't remember running home, just the ache in his arms from carrying the bundle of fur and puppies inside his jacket. Dusty trotted silently behind him, her tail low but not tucked. When he reached the front door, he stopped. His heart sank. His mom. She was going to say no. They already had a no pets rule. They lived in a small rental. She worked nights and barely had time to cook, let alone care for a dog and her newborns. He looked down at the 4 pups pressed against his chest, then back at Dusty. "I'll fix it," he whispered. He opened the door. The living room light was still on. The TV murmured in the background. His mom was asleep on the couch, takeout container balanced on her chest, one shoe still on. Lucas gently nudged her. "Mom." She groaned. Mom, it's important." She blinked, squinted, looked up, and froze. Lucas stood in front of her, arms full of squirming puppies, jacket half-zipped, face flushed. Behind him, Dusty stood in the doorway, nose sniffing the carpet cautiously. His mom sat up slowly. "Lucas, what is this?" He took a breath. Then everything spilled out. About the dog, about the meetings, the food, the friendship, the disappearance, the return. She didn't interrupt, just stared at him. When he finished, there was silence. Then she stood, walked over, and looked down at the pups. She sighed. "Of all the things I thought I'd come home to." Lucas braced for a no, but instead she knelt, touched one of the pups gently, and whispered, "They're freezing." The rest was a blur. Towels, warm water, boxes turned into makeshift beds, Dusty pacing nervously, then settling beside her babies, his mom making a late-night call to her friend who worked at the animal clinic. Lucas didn't sleep. He sat beside the box, watching them breathe, rise and fall like tiny machines powered by love and milk. And every few minutes, Dusty looked at him, not with fear, not with doubt, with gratitude. The next day, they visited the vet. The pups were 3 weeks old, underweight but strong. Dusty was tired but healthy. No microchip, no tags. She was never anyone's, the vet said. Lucas whispered, "She's mine now." His mom didn't correct him. Word spread fast. By Monday, half the town knew the story. People stopped Lucas on the way to school. "Are you the boy with the dog?" He nodded shyly. They smiled, touched his shoulder. "You did a good thing." Some brought donations, old pet beds, food, toys. A woman from the shelter offered to help find homes for the pups. Lucas agreed, but deep down he knew. One would stay. And Dusty? Dusty wasn't going anywhere. They named the puppies Peanut, Mocha, Socks, and Comet. Peanut was the smallest, always trying to fit under the couch. Comet barked at shadows. Mocha fell asleep in food bowls. Socks followed Lucas everywhere. Everywhere. At night, Dusty slept at the foot of Lucas's bed, nose tucked under her tail. Sometimes, Lucas would wake up and find her staring at him. Not in fear, in love. But not everything was easy. Dusty barked when the landlord visited. The house smelled like dog food and blankets and warm fur. Lucas's mom was exhausted, juggling work, cleaning, vet appointments. And one night, she sat Lucas down. "We have to think about what's best for them." His heart dropped. "But I'm not saying no," she added quickly. "I'm saying we need help. We can't do this alone." Lucas nodded. That night, he made a plan. He wrote letters to neighbors, friends, the library bulletin board. Each one ended with the same sentence. "They need someone who will love them the way she trusted me." The first to go was Comet. A retired firefighter took him in, said he reminded him of an old rescue dog. Mocha went next to a family with 2 little girls who fell in love instantly. Peanut found a home with an older couple who brought homemade biscuits on their first visit. Only Socks remained. Lucas didn't even pretend. "That one's mine," he said. His mom smiled. "I figured." One morning, as he walked to school, Socks trotting beside him, Dusty following a few feet behind, Lucas passed the old dumpster. He stopped, stared at it, then bent down, picked up the crumpled sandwich wrapper still there from a week ago. He smiled, then turned to Dusty. "Thank you for coming back." She blinked and nudged his hand. She had no home. He had no one who listened. But sometimes, the quietest love grows the strongest and finds a way to stay. It had been 3 months since Dusty returned. Lucas now woke up every morning to the soft shuffle of paws across his bedroom floor. Socks curled next to his legs, snoring. Dusty sat by the window, nose pressed to the glass, watching birds in the yard like a sentry keeping watch. The house had changed. It smelled like warm fur and kibble. The floor was littered with toys. There was a small dent in the couch cushion where Dusty slept when no one was looking. Lucas's mom changed too. She smiled more, laughed even. She started coming home earlier from work. Sometimes she sat with Lucas in the evenings and asked about his day. Really asked. Dusty always sat beside him when he answered. Like family. One rainy Saturday, Lucas and his mom took the dogs on a walk through the park. It was quiet. Gray clouds rolled overhead, the smell of wet grass heavy in the air. As they passed the playground, a man on a bench looked up from his phone. "Is that the freezer dog?" he asked. Lucas blinked. It took him a second to understand. Then he smiled. "No," he said. She's mine." The man raised an eyebrow. Lucas just kept walking, because Dusty wasn't a stray anymore. She was something else. That night, Lucas sat on his bed, working on a drawing. It was for school. Someone who changed your life. He drew Dusty lying in the grass, puppies around her, her eyes calm and strong. In the corner, he drew himself, smaller, but smiling. He didn't use words. He didn't need to. As summer arrived, the neighborhood kids started coming around more. Socks became a local favorite, always happy, always chasing butterflies. Dusty watched from the porch, tail thumping quietly. She didn't bark. She didn't run. She had everything she needed: a boy, a bed, and a promise that she would never be cold, alone, or forgotten again. One evening, just before sunset, Lucas sat on the front step with Dusty's head in his lap. He ran his fingers through her fur, soft now, brushed every evening, a little lighter around the muzzle. "You were the best secret I ever had," he whispered. Dusty blinked up at him, then licked his hand. Inside the house, the TV murmured. A pot bubbled on the stove. His mom laughed at something in the kitchen. Outside, fireflies blinked in the dusk. Lucas looked down at the dog who had found him, who had trusted him with her life, her children, and her love. And for the first time in his life, he didn't feel small. He didn't feel quiet. He felt whole. Years later, when Lucas wrote his college application essay, he didn't write about grades or awards. He wrote about a stray dog behind a dumpster, a dog who disappeared and came back, not just for help, but to offer a boy something far more powerful, a reason to believe in himself.